This is special, Reginald Dwayne Betts. This is special for me and special for you. You do incredible work across the country. You have created 560 libraries in prisons, and your personal story that I read about, maybe in the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal, maybe in the Washington Post, blew me away. I thought I got to meet this man. But wait, it's about books. He's a poet. He was imprisoned as a young man. He's changed people's lives. He probably has already won a Genius Award. And if not, you're definitely a candidate for one. But how do I get him on Dog Talk? Turns out that Dwayne has a dog, and the dog was part of your bridge into society or feeling comfortable around people or something like that. I'll just take it.
So it was, but it's actually profoundly interesting because two things happened. Damn. A friend of mine, she got colorectal cancer, and
Oof.
and I had been writing. If you're a poet, you write. This is your job. And at some point, you believe that it's your job. You believe that it's your duty, but because you don't really get paid for it, and also because it's hard to get people to value it, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes, sometimes you just start saying what you don't really have control in the same way that you want, the same way that a chef has control over their meal. They have control in it in every level, from the amount of salt to the amount of heat to the crispness. My friend told me she had colorectal cancer, and I got a bad habit of blurting the first thing that comes to my head. And I said, "Oh man, I write you a poem for every day you got to go to chemo." And
Wow.
and what
Wow.
happened was I had been writing poems that were it's like profoundly sad my entire life. And I started writing in prison, and I wasn't trying to write through sorrow. I was trying to write through sorrow to get to some kind of joy or some kind of safety or some kind of freedom. But it wasn't
Yeah.
until she said this thing to me that I said, when I started to write those poems, I could not end on sorrow. I could not end on a depressed moment. And then she got a dog. And I thought,
Wow.
oh, wow, I'm gonna write about her dog. Her dog name was Bonnie. And she would always talk about it. And then I got a dog. And so what happened is then my experiences with my dog began to fuel the words that I wrote to her.
Wow.
And over the course of 2 years, it transformed how I saw the world. I would walk the streets with my dog and I would interact with people who I would see all of the time and wouldn't see, who would
Mm.
see me and wouldn't see me. It was
Yes.
the animal with me or the animal with them gave us both permission to not be afraid of each other.
Yes.
And it's weird because the same thing doesn't happen if somebody walks up to me with a dog and I don't have one. See, it happens now because I'm curious. But before, I would have just been afraid. But when I got a dog, it just radically changed it. And I just remember sending her the poems and her having some joy
Wow.
and thanking me. And it changed my life. And so, yes, to your question, but all of this happened 18 years after I got out of prison. This book, Dog Rule, that
Yes. Gorgeous book.
this is my personal statement of joy. This is my personal statement of you can go through something and understand how to see the world in a way that's loving, thoughtful, and variegated. And this came, it was released the 20th anniversary, March 4th, the 20th anniversary of me getting out of prison. And yeah, dogs help, but it took a long time before I
Wow.
brought them into my life.
You move me so much. Your life story moved me so much. Talk about making lemonade. Oh my God. You're 16 years old. You're a kid. You jack a car. I happen to know a few people who've done that, and they weren't necessarily from a hood. It's just what teenagers do, stupid, thoughtless things, not knowing the consequences. You
Yeah.
wind up in prison for 9 years. Some of it spent in solitary. Unthinkable things done to incarcerated people, mindless, thoughtless. Maybe they're race based. Maybe there's just, we have a prison system that's a nice money maker for a lot of people. It's a business. And in solitary, they took away the couple of paperback books you had. And already as a young teenager, books mattered to you. Talk a little bit about how books became a lifeline to hope and outreach to you and the other prisoners. And then you built Freedom Reads afterwards, which is just a wild ride of hopefulness.
In this book, in the beginning of the book and in the end of the book, I have these pages that are facsimiles of their photographs of poems I wrote when I was in prison. And I wrote these like literally this what I'm about to show you. I wrote this. You could just see the handwriting. The handwriting is ridiculous.
Yes.
Me as a
Yes.
child, that date is April 1999. I'm just going to read you the last section. It stars
Yes, please.
Reginald, a somewhat complicated man, prematurely set in his ways, decided at 16 to leave home, traveled many miles to get to prison and meet young men turned old flying backwards. Experience was a cold teacher, nurturing a rebelliousness that dared to wonder, dared to achieve. He left
Wow.
prison a couple years ago. I hear he's making out okay.
Oh man.
But I wrote
That,
that in 99, though. I had 5 years left when I had 6 years left when I wrote that. And so what
wow.
literature allowed me to do was imagine, listen, I didn't even call myself Reginald. I have never in my
That's
life called
so
myself.
sweet.
And so what writing did for me, what books did for me, and I think what it does for a lot of people in prison, it gives you access to what's possible outside of the prison cell. And you have
Mhm.
to understand that some of what's possible outside of the prison cell is taking a walk in the rain.
Wow.
What was possible outside of the prison cell was traveling to another state. I have somebody on my team now named James Davis who did 25 years in prison. Some of that time was spent with a freedom library. He now is out and he works for us, and he just flew to Missouri to open freedom libraries, 30 freedom libraries in two prisons in Missouri. And this is what, when he had the freedom library, he wrote us a letter in 2023 imagining that this might be possible. And so,
Wow.
what books allow us to do is imagine a future that we don't live in. And if anybody understands how desperate the need is for that, it's anybody who's been inside. And I would just say candidly, prison is a lot of things, but prison is the place where we try to grapple with the profound amount of violence, poverty, and ways in which human beings hurt each other. And the worst part about prison is we charge correctional officers who often don't have the tools, the literal resources from the state to help guide people, even if that resource is simply a book to do it. And I think really I was blessed to survive prison. But I was also blessed to come across some staff members who cared, who were thoughtful. And with this work in Freedom Reads, I have met dozens, I have met hundreds of correctional officers who have a deep seated belief that we could be more than whatever landed us in prison. Because just
Wow.
like you, they have cousins that committed robberies, that have sold drugs, or
Sure.
they might have had some indiscretion in their past that didn't end up being criminal. So they too shouldn't be judged by that least common denominator because candidly, some of us were the least common denominator before we got to prison. I did carjack somebody. I did do it on purpose. I didn't care about the person I robbed. I wasn't even thinking about him. And I hope that my life has made amends, but I don't want to pretend like what happened to me was a product of race. It was a product of my violence in a culture, in a country, literally. My judge said I'm under no illusion that sending you to prison will help. And that was an admission that he didn't have a language to believe. You said to me on this first call, I bet you if you haven't already won a Genius Grant, you'll win one. My judge didn't have a language to believe that somebody would ever utter those words about me, let alone call me a father, call me a professor, call me a lawyer, call me a
Right.
poet. And so the real challenge is that we live in a world in which when people are at their worst, that is when we have the least amount of language to characterize what they might become. And that is when books become the most important because books do for others what we can't do for them for whatever reason. And books did that for me, and books are the only reason that I'm here having this conversation with you right now.
I hope the literary community hears this, those who publish books, those other people who write books, to know the power of the word. It isn't just for privileged people with a little downtime on a beach. This is a lifeline for people in prison, many of whom may have never even been given the time or the space or the encouragement to read a book. You have a picture on your website, Freedom Reads, of a women's prison. These women all look
I know, right?
like nice Hispanic mamas that are going to go make some fabulous tortilla soup. And I'm like, they're reading books and whatever got them in there. God bless you
Yeah.
for saying, you know what? There is another version of yourself and it's in your own imagination. And the words in a book let your imagination grow.
Man, I gotta tell you, because I've gone through a season of like changes in my own life. I found out that I'm bipolar, ADHD, and I had stopped drinking, and my brain became unwieldy and interested in ways I hadn't known before. You know?
Wow.
And now I cried twice in prison. I learned how to shut down all of my emotions when I was in
Sure.
prison. And it
Hmm.
was only in the past couple of years that I have actually, it was like a well. It was like I had a dam inside me and something happened and it broke. And now I cry all the time. But my point is that I've been in rooms with women like that and men like that, weeping, talking about the hardest things that you could imagine, talking about divorce, talking about my mom being sexually assaulted, like literally 3 weeks after I got arrested and me only finding out when I came home. I went into prison and talked to men about how like insecure I felt about my inability to provide for my family. And I stood in front of men and women and wept. And I'm talking about wept in a way that like makes you feel not vulnerable, but in need. And I have had the people in that room say, yo, brother, you got it. We here, we listening. And this is not the kind of thing that you expect to find in a prison. And I
No.
guess part of this work is to say, how do you expand what we expect of people, period? Because the only person that's hurt when we expect nothing is us. Because you cannot walk through the world expecting the worst of the people that's around you. You just cannot do that. And I've been blessed to say that going back into prisons has been one of, strangely enough, my greatest joys. You know what I mean? Like literally, I had my girlfriend tell me, you shimmer inside.
Oh,
And
that's a good word.
it
That's
really
a
is.
great word.
And she wasn't saying you like prison.
No.
She was saying that I see you in front of these men. I see you in front of these women. And it's almost like you got a different energy because you feel like it's somebody in there that has never imagined that the door will turn and open.
Yeah.
And you bring that, man. And it's just having somebody tell me that, having somebody see that, but having people in prison affirm that when that's not even why I go. I really go for selfish reasons. I go because I'm compelled to. I don't go because I'm holy. I go because I'm needy. I go because nobody went for me. And I feel like if I
Yes.
go for somebody else, that I am paying back what people in prison gave me when nobody on the outside was willing to give it to me because they didn't think that I was worthy enough. They didn't think that the prison could have enough access to make it possible. And I go to the Department of Corrections and say, you know what? I know what they say about the DOC, but I am challenging myself. I'm not challenging you to work with me. I am challenging myself to believe that you will be a legitimate partner for me because I believe you will. And I'm doing everything to make it easy. And in fact, I'm doing it in the face of what everybody tells me makes sense. And we have been successful. And I'm serious, it
Very.
hasn't been because of me. It has been because of all of us. It's like when you get this dog and you think that I'd be like, yo, I'm a great person. It's like, wait a minute. I was great, but I didn't know any of these people before. And now that me and Taylor walk these streets, everybody, I'm smiling more. People are talking to me. It's like sometimes you need a catalyst to
Yes.
become who you might be in this world. And a friend is often that catalyst. And a book is just as good a friend as a dog or a human in a pinch.
In a pinch, I love it. Yeah, a human in a pinch, but a dog's better. I think for a lot of people, particularly right, in urban settings,
Yeah.
the dog is their connection to all these other strangers. Cities can be crowded sidewalks and even crowded parks, but people are alone. They're isolated. In a city, you name any city you want. And it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, people don't want to be stuck in the isolation of their apartment, whether it's a one room with rattling pipes or a four-bedroom Park Avenue, whatever. They're isolated and they want to connect with other people. But how do they do it? They often feel small or invisible or too visible. And that dog becomes what Taylor your Terrier mix is for you. Wow. It's like this instant opening of a lock. And it lets you feel human in front of these other people where you might have often felt, God, if they find out I was in prison, never mind that I maybe really will get a MacArthur Genius Grant for putting these gorgeous handcrafted wooden libraries filled with books for what, 280,000 books you've
Yeah.
placed in the hands of incarcerated people. Yeah, once people know that about you, oh yeah, I met Dwayne Betts, isn't he cool? But until they know about your accomplishments,
Yeah. It's a
like
dog.
you might feel like it's the
But
dog because
no, word, you got to understand. And I'm gonna say this because I was really honored that you said that I was going to win the Genius Grant, and I was trying to be humble, but I did win one. So before somebody
oh
hears,
my God, so I'm not the one that made it happen. You
no,
didn't.
I'm
Oh,
about
you
to be the first.
so deserve it. You're the human on earth that they were invented for. Somebody who
I
thinks
thank you
so
so much.
big and so outside the box and does things nobody would ever else have attempted. Oh my God, that's so cool. I'm so happy you so deserve it.
But I should tell you the irony though, right? Is that I already had Taylor when I won it though, right? But
Okay.
people knew me for Taylor, and then they was like, "Oh yeah, I just found out you won that big award too. That's pretty cool." But people in my community, right? Like I was a lawyer, I was a poet, I had been on NPR, like I had been in the world, I had been in Yale, I had done these things.
Yeah.
But it was literally what made my neighbors know me. You just talked about how dogs help us close the distance between each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
It wasn't the MacArthur that made people want to talk to me. It was seeing me walk with the commitment. They would see me walk with this small Jack Russell Terrier, and they saw a puppy grow and grow. It was just a thing. And actually, it connected me to them too, though,
Yeah.
because I would begin to care about them. Honestly, I cared more about their dogs. But in caring about their dogs and talking about the dogs, I started talking to them. Actually, you know what? I was going to read Grief, but I'll just tell you about this one other poem that I'll read. It's called
And then I want you to read it. Yeah, people need to know this guy's a poet, not, yeah, happened to be on the back of some old piece of paper when he first started. Obviously, it was in your DNA. You had to use words to express emotions, but you are a serious poet. Read us some poetry.
I'm gonna read Grief. I just say about sorrow. It was about surrender. It was a three-legged dog in my neighborhood that we used to always run up and down in his yard when we would walk past.
Yep.
And I was scared of it because it was a huge bulldog with three legs. It talked loud. And the neighbor said that dog is mean and the owner's mean too. And so I just believed him. And one morning my dog was like, "We're going over there." And I was like, "Okay, but I'm not jumping in the yard to save you if you decide to jump this fence." And my little Jack Russell Terrier that weighs 20 pounds dragged me to this gate. And I swear it got to the fence and laid down, and the big dog laid down, and they
Oh
started looking at each other's
my.
face.
Oh,
And I wrote a poem, and I thought, who has not been mistaken
yes.
for other than who we are?
Yeah, for
Because of the
sure.
way we dress, because of how loud our voices, because of our skin. I had assumed this dog was a killer.
Yes,
I had assumed this dog had violated probation. You know what I
for
mean?
sure. And you
and
believed what other people said because we do that too, don't we? We
and
don't go on our own gut.
I was wrong. I was so profoundly wrong. And the woman said, "Man, Archie just wants a friend and just barks and gets excited.
Wow.
One walks past that might be a friend. And my dog, like Taylor, is what drove me to approach another sentient that
A
just
needy
wanted
one.
to say
A needy
hi."
one. Yeah. Read us the poem.
Oh, read surrender? Okay.
Yeah, read Surrender.
All right, cool. Surrender. This is what Tay Tay teaches me one morning. I am walking her against the wind, which means against everything holding me back. And it makes me pull, then yank her leash when she urges us toward the street's opposite side, as if she has not become one of my loves. And most of the time, she does obey. But on this morning, she refuses to relent and approaches the three-legged pit bull or bulldog or whatever you imagine is fierce enough to destroy, even if that is me at 16 with a pistol, is what I don't think. As Tay Tay launches us toward the snarling and rampaging brown dog that lies down as Taylor nears and reaches his tongue through steel bars and licks my puppy's face. And Arthur, who uses three legs better than I've sometimes used these two of mine, is said to just be lonely and to race up and down and bark with the only voice he has when possible friends pass. And I've been terribly afraid of the lonely barking. And Taylor's lesson is a gift, the reminder of what it means to be generous, even when confronted with what we believe we need fear.
Like I said, a real poet. That is a gorgeous poem. And nice that you told us the real life story, but the poem tells it all as well.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's pretty fabulous. That's
Yeah, it's
pretty
big.
damn fabulous. I have to say, that is a great poem. Yeah.
This is the poem. If you get this book, And I tell this to people candidly. As a poet, I feel like I have permission to be an inventor. I could make things up. I could
Yes.
tell fiction.
Yes.
But this book, Doggerel, if you want to know who I've been for the last 2 years, if you want to have a glimpse, every single word in this is true. Every experience happened. Everything I say happened. If and the joy that I try to hold on into these poems that I hope you feel when you hold the book, that I hope comes through in the cover, is really about me trying to make a statement that we could recognize the sorrow of the world and both do something about it and commit ourselves to living and holding on to whatever joy we could get while breathing.
I would just like to buy boxes of the books and send them out to everyone who listens to the show. I don't think that's probably practical, but it makes me want to do that. I've had wonderful authors on the show. You're on the show as something much more than an author, turns out. You're my first MacArthur Genius Grant recipient that I know of in 18 years because it was your human story that so moved me, and I was just hoping that somewhere in your story there was a dog to justify you being on Dog Talking Kitties too. You were coming anyway, as far as I
This,
was concerned, as long
this,
as you said yes.
this what was so cool about this is as we talk about poetry in this book, I've read that poem to Arthur and to the woman that he lives with.
Oh,
I went in their yard with my dog
nice.
and I had the poem on my phone. And the thing is, and me and her had never had a conversation.
Of course not. Why would you go near a killer dog?
So but in this book though, I've read every poem in this book to somebody publicly. And I don't mean at a public reading. I mean at a bus stop, in an
Oh,
Uber.
kidding.
No, I'm walking down the street and you have your dog, and I say, "Oh, can I read you something?" I read to people in lines at the grocery store. I read to flight attendants. And the reason why I've done this is because my poetry might not make me rich, but it does make me matter. I read grief
My
one
God.
time. I read grief one time. I was at a, I was at a news studio, and this guy was on the phone with his friend. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, your dog's died. Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "Hey, put her on speakerphone." He looked at me. He's like, "I don't even really know you, Dwayne. We just met a few weeks ago." I said, "I want to read her a poem." He was like, he didn't even say this. He's thinking in his head because he won't articulate. He's like, "You heard her dog's just died, and you want to read her a poem, and I don't even know you." I said, "Come on, man. Just." He put her on speaker. I read grief, and they both gasped at the end and thanked me. And this is the thing. I've been a poet my whole life. I have never seen somebody, a stranger in need, and said, "I think this poem will matter to you." And I've done that with this book. I've done that with the poem Grief multiple times. And I might never win a big award. For this book,
I mean,
because
another big award.
yeah, I may never win another big award. But with this book, the award I've won every single time I've read it is the smile. It's the recognition that I thought that this mattered, not to the literary world, but to my mom. I thought it would matter to
Nice,
you. I thought it would matter
nice.
to a stranger on the street. And it has profoundly mattered in ways that has truly touched me. So I love the fact that how much fun we're having now.
We are having so much fun, and I am so multiply surprised by you, your accomplishments, your talent, your humility, your pride, true pride. You know, that people don't take enough pride in who they are and how they've become who they are and what they've accomplished and how they affect other people. You just keep on owning that, okay? Because you are really a beacon of light and hope to all of us, whether we have advantages or disadvantages. We're all so alone in this world. And you know what? You make community where you go. It's clear. You're a man who knows how to make community, and we're all lucky on this world to have you. Just, we only have a minute left, but are we supposed to, besides buy the book Doggerel, which now I'm going to hound people to do from now until another year, do we send books? Can we send physical books to Freedom Reads?
I will say this. So the great thing about Doggerel is it came out in hardback, so you could get the hardback version. But we created, my publisher, W. Norton, created a paperback edition called the Freedom Edition just for people in prison. So we give them to people in prison all
Nice.
across the country. Because of prison security, we can't have books donated to us, but you can go to freedomreads.org, look at our work, and you can send us donations. And those
Oh, yeah.
donations drive our work. Truly,
So
like when
what
we
do
go,
they think? What are we going to put in a book? A file so they can file their way out of the bars of prison?
actually, to be slightly generous to them, what happens is it doesn't even matter. They could be like, so when we come into a prison,
Yeah,
when we do 20 libraries, remember, every library has 500 books, and this is one
right,
prison.
right.
That's 10,000 books. The problem is that for them to do their due diligence, They just have to search it. Even if they did this 10,000 times, it just wouldn't be practical. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Because,
Yeah, sure.
and also the books are brand new. That's the
Right.
other reason why we don't accept donated books. Most people in prison, they never get a new book. And if you're serving life in
Oh,
prison, you've
nice.
never been into a bookstore. And we have a specially curated 500 collection. So we get these 500 books. When we
Makes
go to
sense.
the prison,
Yeah.
10,000 books split 20 different times, 500 books a piece. We go into the cell blocks. We put these three beautiful handmade wood
They're
bookcases,
gorgeous.
accessible on each side. And that too, just like having a dog and going and walking down the street with a
Yeah.
dog allows you to create community. The Freedom Library becomes the locus point for community in a cell block. And I would love people to buy a dog rule and just go check our website out. Our November newsletter is coming out soon in the next few days. They should check that out and just look at what we're doing.
You got it. I'm going to be promoting every chance I get. I'm going to be promoting what you do. You are really a light in this world. So, Reginald, I can call you Reginald, but it's really
Yeah.
Dwayne Betts, but it's Reginald Dwayne Betts and Taylor and your girlfriend and all the good people in your life. Just keep on shining that light. You're
Thank
really
you
a
so much.
special man. I'm grateful to know you. Thank you.
Thank you.